Now, as we reported earlier, FIFA Secretary General Fatma Samura has noted that the women's game in Africa has great potential and hailed its first growth. In a recent visit to Kenya, Samura added the World Football Governing Body has dedicated $1.5 billion to help advance the women's game in the 2019 to 2022 cycle, as it seeks to register 60 million players by 2026. Now, we are pleased to have with us a seasoned journalist and Vice President of the International Sports Association, Evelyne Watta, who joins us via Zoom from Spain for further discussion on this. Very good to have you with us, Evelyne. For starters, do you think the inaugural African Women's Champions League will raise the standards of the game in the continent as projected?
Thank you very much for having me, Panina. Certainly, that is something most African footballers have been wishing for, because they always say that the only chance for them to get exposure is when they go for the Africa Cup of Nations or when they go for the Olympics or other tournaments outside of Africa. So they needed a tournament that is within Africa where the best of each country can be able to play. And I think this is a perfect thing that is happening to women's football at this time, because they didn't have anywhere where they would go and play outside the international competitions with their national teams. So the club football was dropping, especially for the women in Africa. They always had to wait to probably join teams here in Spain or in England or other parts of Eastern Europe to be able to play continental or club football.
Right. So, Evelyne, FIFA Secretary General Fatma Samura recently announced an investment of $1.5 billion for women's football in the period of 2019 to 2022. Is this enough to accelerate growth, especially here in Africa?
Panina, I think it is a good start, but that's just a drop, a drop in the ocean compared to what the men's football is getting from FIFA. Men's football commands all the top dollars, all the top billions of dollars. And just to have 1.5 billion is a good start. It's not bad, because there was nothing, or whatever was there was very little, that we could not feel the pinch, or we could not see what it was doing. So this is a good start, but it should not end with this, because as we saw a few years ago, in 2019, when FIFA hosted the FIFA Women's World Cup, there is potential and there's interest, because people were always arguing that you cannot put the money where there are no sponsors, there are no fans. But you remember the football matches were full in France. So that shows that there is potential, and there's also a market where they can be able to recoup their money, any investment they put into the women's football. Certainly, it will be able to pay back. Maybe not within the year they've been able to invest, but then in a few years, we will be able to see even African footballers staying in Africa, playing in Africa, not waiting to come and play in Spain or go to China to play professional football.
And finally, Evelyne, two African teams, Cameroon and Nigeria, reached the last 16 at the 2019 Women's World Cup. What can the continent expect in the 2023 tournament with recent developments?
I think going by the recently held Tokyo Olympics, where we saw Zambia, yes, as much as they struggled in the first games, but we saw the best of Africa at a top level. And this was Zambia, who are debutants at the Olympics. So that shows you that the potential of African teams does not only lie within Nigeria and Cameroon, as we have known. The other teams that are willing to rise up, the only thing is that they did not have the platform to showcase what they're able to do. So I believe after what we saw in France with the Nigeria and Cameroon, and what we've seen with Zambia, considered a football minnow in Africa in terms of African women's football, going there and even setting records by having the best scorer in terms of hat-trick at an Olympic Games. It only shows that when we go to the next event, African teams will not be the beating, the teams that if you're ranked against, you're sure that you'll be able to win your matches. African teams will be teams that no one will know what they will bring to the table, and you don't know what team will show up, because it could be Zambia and then you have a hat-trick in one game. So I think that's exciting for us, when you're also looking at other teams outside our powerhouse, like Africa, as in Africa, it's Nigeria and Cameroon. So I think it's such an exciting time for African women's football. And we've even seen, like, most of the Nigerian and Cameroonian footballers, a lot of them are professional footballers who actually are playing here in Spain, in England, all over the world. So it shows the potential that Africa has and what it's able to do at the next World Cup.